The Silver Ridge mansion shone with gentle evening lights. Its stone path gleamed like a stage for people certain they'd already won at life. Laughter flowed from open doorways as Washington State's class of 2015 graduates arrived. They wore sharp suits, colorful dresses, and the calm belief that everything had gone exactly their way. Close to the entrance, four voices stood out. Brandon Keller brushed fake dust from his fancy jacket, loudly boasting about deals he finished before morning. Savannah Reed kept her phone up, practicing poses for her reunion video more than talking to people. Carter Miles straightened his tie with the smooth ease of a man practicing smiles for court. Logan Parrish scrolled through the online guest list like checking company earnings, seeing classmates as mere data. Then Savannah stopped, her eyes wide. "No way. Avery Cole. Seriously?" Brandon laughed loudly. Carter smirked. Logan angled his phone toward them. The teasing started right away, thoughtlessly, almost with glee. They pictured her arriving, looking lost, out of place, easy to put down once again. With a quick shared smile, they agreed tonight would be her last shame. Avery Cole never filled a room. In high school, she moved through Ridgeview High's halls like a soft ghost, sticking to the walls where lockers stood. As other students yelled, laughed, and filmed each other, she walked by quietly, her backpack seeming almost larger than her. Her clothes were always a bit large, sleeves covering her hands, pants a bit too long. This wasn't style, it was a disguise, the kind a teen uses to avoid being seen as a target. At lunchtime, when the yard buzzed with sound, Avery never sat with a group. She chose a spot alone at the far wall, knees tucked close to feel safe. While others looked at phones, shared secrets, and told tales, she opened a thick book out of place in a school lunchroom. It was a flight guide, drawings of helicopter parts, how air moves around wings, charts on pushing up, slowing down, twisting, pages packed with numbers that would have bored anyone else. But Avery followed each problem with her finger as if it were a map to a different place, a calmer place, far above the chaos. When she got too nervous, she had a habit. Her right thumb would lightly tap her left wrist. Tap, stop, tap, stop. A small even beat only she sent. It was the sole hint of feeling beneath her quiet outside. Her eyes were also like a shield. Avery's look took in everything. A teacher's tired posture late in the day. A classmate's smile that didn't quite show in their eyes. The split second before someone chose to make fun of another. Yet, those same eyes showed nothing in return. No sudden move. No rage. No begging for kindness. Her locker held a secret. The hallway was too scared to speak it. One morning she rounded a corner to see it painted with messy, dripping words. "Go, go." The paint ran down the metal as if trying to escape. Students slowed to stare, then hurried off, laughing as they went. Avery stood, her thumb tapping her wrist, eyes glued to the word. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She opened the locker, its door creaking as if sorry for the mess. She took out her books and walked away, shoulders tense, jaw firm. In math, the teacher gave back exams with weary words about studying better and second tries. When Avery's paper landed on her desk, a small red 98 stood at the top, neat, clear, almost bold. She put it into her folder gently, as if it could tear. Behind her, someone saw the score and frowned at his own. First came the sound of paper crushing, then a sharp tap on the back of her head as the test fell to the floor. A few students chuckled. She didn't turn. Her thumb tapped her wrist once. Then she bent, picked up the paper that wasn't hers, and placed it on the empty desk's edge. Teachers saw her smarts, but seldom her loneliness. When she lifted her hand, it was mostly to give a right answer, not to seek aid. When she talked, it was in brief, careful sentences, as if not to waste anyone's time. More often she stayed silent, letting the world happen around her. After the last bell, the parking lot turned into a rush of car doors closing, engines starting, and evening plans. Avery didn't stay. She walked past lines of cars, past students getting into vehicles, past party invites she never got. Her way home followed long, broken footpaths under old power lines and weary trees. At home there was no grand greeting, just her aunt, an older woman made tired by long work hours and low wages. They shared a small flat that smelled lightly of soap and warmed-up food. Her aunt rarely had energy left at day's end, but she always asked, "You all right, kiddo?" Avery always replied, "Yes, I'm okay." The real story was in the small things, in how she let her backpack fall to the floor, in how her thumb tapped her wrist before opening her school books, in how she spent evenings not on social apps, but studying air movement, weather maps, and how helicopter blades work. On career day, the gym filled with tables and signs for schools and local companies. Students gathered at stands offering free pens and sweets. Big promises of flexible hours and extra cash filled the air. At the gym's far side, almost hidden by a large pole, sat a small table with a plain sign, United States Army. No crowd, no queue. A single recruiter sat there, hands clasped, watching the busy scene with calm eyes. His flyers lay in tidy piles, unread. Avery walked past the loud sounds and stopped at his table. Her thumb tapped her wrist. She looked at the pictures taped to the front. Helicopters in dirt and sun. Teams standing together on hot ground. Faces made strong by real life, not by trying to be liked. The recruiter looked up, surprised someone had actually stopped. "Are you keen on flying?" he asked. She nodded once. "Yes, sir." They talked softly. Across the gym, a group of students saw them and pointed. A wave of quiet laughs went through the seating. One boy made a fake military salute toward her. Another pretended a helicopter was falling. Avery heard them. She always did. Her thumb tapped again. She didn't look at them. Instead, she heard the recruiter explain ways to flight training, officer roles, the learning, the strictness, the years of effort it would take. None of it made her afraid. In fact, it sounded like the kind of structure she'd always wanted. She took the leaflet with both hands, thanked him, and left, the laughter trailing her like an annoying sound. That night, alone at the kitchen table, she ran her finger over the shape of an Apache helicopter until its form became known to her. Graduation arrived with hats, robes, and flashing cameras all over the stadium. Friends gathered in groups, holding balloons and signs, yelling over each other as names were announced. When Avery's name was called out, she walked the stage alone. No family stood to cheer. No one held a sign with her picture. She shook hands, took her degree, and left the stage. On the field later, hugs and group pictures were everywhere. Avery moved through the people with a small paper in her pocket and an army flyer. The path from the stadium stretched far and empty. With every step, she became smaller in that scene, until she vanished out of sight. Years later, on another airstrip beneath a tougher sun, Avery Cole stood next to an Apache attack helicopter. Dust was on her boots, and a headset hung from her neck. Her flight uniform fit as if it were a second skin. The badge on her arm held the meaning of actual missions, not just wishes. She was now a Chief Warrant Officer Three. Avery Cole, U.S. Army, Apache pilot. The person who once hid in big sweaters now held the duty of protecting lives under her helicopter blades. In Yemen, when a Marine team was stuck in a broken building, she stayed in place for more than 6 hours under enemy attack. She refused to leave until every soldier was safe. The awards that followed meant less to her than the plain words from a dusty Marine sergeant afterward. He held her hand and would not let go. "You brought us all back," he said. Every single one. Back in Washington, the folks who had once called her worthless had no clue what she had become. For them, Avery Cole was still just an old yearbook picture, a faint memory. For the teams who flew beside her, she was someone completely new. She was the pilot they relied on when danger filled the sky. She was the steady voice in their earpiece when everything else fell apart. She showed that some people don't vanish when unseen. They simply grow where you can't find them. As the sun set behind the hills, the Silver Ridge estate seemed like it was from a fancy magazine ad. String lights crisscrossed the yard, giving a warm glow to shiny stone and neat bush. Valets ran to meet cars, while groups of old classmates stood together, sharing memories and sizing each other up. Inside the main hall, servers walked through the guests with trays of drinks that cost more than many people's weekly food bill. A jazz band played quietly by the far wall, their music soft enough not to clash with the main attraction, those who believed their lives had worked out perfectly. At the room's center, Brandon Keller had taken a spot as if it were his own stage. He laughed too loudly at his own tales, his hand casually on a chair back, as if he owned the whole property. Every phrase he spoke seemed to mention a rich area and a shocking price. I told them if they didn't accept my offer by Friday they'd miss the view, he said, smiling broadly. They called Thursday night, full price. People listen when you know your stuff. Savannah Reed stood next to him. Her phone was always close. She changed her stance for each new person who came near. Chin up, smile fixed, eyes shining with practiced interest. She had already shot 3 reunion makeover videos before the first snack was served. Carter Miles played his usual part just behind them. Tie perfect, drink in hand, his face showing a mix of kind interest and careful aloofness. He asked about careers now, like someone collecting facts for a lawsuit, nodding, then turning the talk to one of his own court wins. Logan Parrish lingered by a tall table, phone still showing the guest list. He swiped, scrolled and marked attendance as he would track stock price. Each green checkmark became another bit of info to store. Every few minutes, he looked up, sizing up the room like searching for future business partners. Not old friends, they were kind on the out. They hugged people they knew by short names. They praised weddings, careers, and children with the same voice a weather person uses to say another bright day. But beneath it all was a silent rating system, a constant tally of who succeeded and who didn't. At the room's back, a projector showed old photos on a white screen, awkward teen braces, prom outfits, strange hair, and old styles. Each picture brought laughs, complaints, and sometimes a yelled joke from the group. Savannah watched the screen with a clever look. "We should make this more exciting," she said, drinking. "People love then and now moments. They gobble that up online." Logan's thumb scrolled the guest list once more. "Lots of then," he said, without emotion. "Not so sure about the now." Then her name flashed on his tablet. "Avery Cole," Logan read, raising his brows. "Well, look who's actually on the list." Savannah almost sparkled. "No way. She got an invite?" She leaned in, then broke into a happy laugh. "Oh, this is gold. This is perfect for my video." Carter looked over, faking a little confusion. "Who?" he asked, though a small smile already touched his lips. "The ghost," Brandon said, snapping his fingers as the memory returned. "Quiet girl, sat alone, always reading those strange pilot books. Never did anything." Savannah nodded, thrilled. "Precisely. A complete nobody. This is great. Imagine if she actually comes. We could get the best shot ever." Logan tilted his head, amused. "If she shows up," he corrected. "I'll bet she won't." They all looked at the main doors, imagining the Avery they recalled. Loose clothes, lowered eyes, books held tight like a shield. In their thoughts she was stuck in high school, just as they'd left her. "Likely working at some gas station," Brandon said easily. "Or stacking items on the night shift." "Hey, nothing bad with that," he added, hands up in fake honesty. "But it would make for a crazy then and now story." Savannah was already finding the slideshow controls on her phone. "Let's see if Yearbook Avery made the show," she said. "She needs her moment." Near the back, Mia Turner stood with a few classmates, listening but not taking part. Mia had also been quiet in high school, but in her own way. She stayed on the edges of friend circles, close enough to be allowed, never close enough to be truly noticed. She heard Avery's name and felt a knot in her stomach. Old pictures came to mind. A girl eating alone, a locker with mean words painted on it, a teacher asking for partner. Silence filled the room as eyes avoided the one person never chosen. Mia had done like so many others. She looked away. She stayed in her small, safe group. She told herself it wasn't her place to fix things. She believed not getting involved meant she wasn't part of the issue. Each time she thought of Avery Cole, that excuse felt weaker. By the bar, a man with short hair and a straight back watched the room with different eyes. Nate Collins had retired U.S. Marine Corps, on his name tag. but his bearing spoke it clearer than any word. He noticed the loud talk swirling around the same four people. He saw how their laughs grew sharper when certain names were said. He didn't know Avery Cole, but he knew that type of behavior. The military had its own version, too. The noisy ones, those always needing attention, seldom moved him. At the front, the screen changed. A group picture from 10th grade flashed, bringing shouts and cheers. Someone joked about a terrible haircut. Another pointed at their own young face and acted like they were falling. Savannah nudged Logan. "Find her in the computer," she said. "If she's approved for tonight, we need a picture ready." Logan smirked. "You're acting like she's famous." "In a way she is," Savannah answered. "Every story needs a bad guy or a funny end. We might as well use what's here." Her words hit harder than she knew. For her it was just a phrase. For Mia it felt like a secret admitted. When Avery's yearbook picture finally showed, the projector seemed to pause. There she was, hair tied back too tightly. Glasses a bit wonky, shoulders pulled in as if wishing to vanish inside her large sweat. Her eyes looked straight forward, still distant, as if she were halfway between this place and somewhere else. The response was quick. "Oh my God," someone near the front laughed. "I forgot about her. You mean the ghost girl?" Another voice added. "She's a legend. Look at that jump," Savannah said loudly, as if speaking to people who couldn't see the screen. "This is exactly my point. Zero presence. You couldn't make a sharper difference if you tried." Phones appeared. A few snapped pictures of the image as if it were theirs to take, as if they owned the right to turn someone's worst past into tonight's fun. The laughter grew, echoed from the ceiling lights and spread through the room. Mia looked at the screen, then at the faces near her, feeling anger build inside. She wanted to speak. Anything. But her old fear took over. What if she made things uncomfortable? What if they turned on her? What if speaking up made her the next target? What would you have done then? Would you have stepped forward, stopped the joke, and told them that perhaps, just perhaps, making fun of someone not present wasn't funny at all? Or would you have done like almost everyone else in that hall? Would you have kept silent, finding comfort in the group? At the bar, Nate Collins's face hardened. He took a slow sip of his drink, his eyes fixed on the screen. Soldiers speak of bravery in battle, but he had learned a deeper truth long ago. Sometimes the toughest courage has nothing to do with weapons. Sometimes it's simply saying, "That's enough." He watched the laughing group nearby. None of them seemed to have fought for anything but to be noted. Logan, still by the tall table, raised his glass. $10 she doesn't appear, he said lightly. 20. She saw the invitation and trashed it. People like her don't return to places like this. I think she will, Brandon argued. Enjoying the fun, she always seemed to want more. She'll show up to prove she's not a nobody. People can't pass up that sort of chance. Savannah angled her phone, getting Avery's projection in the shot. Guys, picture the video. High school nobody returns to her 10-year reunion, trying to impress, only to meet the people who recall exactly who she truly was. That's 1 million views easily. Carter laughed, his voice calm. Just be careful, Savannah, he said. You want to film reactions, not a loss. She rolled her eyes. Chill. I won't name her, just the feeling. People like the tale. They fill in the rest themselves. The screen changed, but Avery's image stayed in the room like mist. Chat circled her name, even when her face left the screen. The teasing now had a clear target. It had a target, though she was far away. Some classmates joined in with uneasy laughs. Not wanting to seem dull, others moved closer, pulled by the strongest voices. A few, like Mia, stepped back, pretending to look at something else, as if being far away could hide the truth that silence speaks volumes. Nate watched as the social group tightened around those 4 main speakers. He had been in enough military teams to understand how power built. It seldom mattered who held the official position. What truly mattered was who controlled the story being told in the room. Tonight, the story they wished for was simple. Successful people gather at a beautiful estate. The girl they labeled a nobody returns. Small and not fitting, they get one last laugh. Simple, neat, pleasing. At least, that was the script they thought they wrote. From where you are hearing this, It might seem clear, mean, obvious, but in that hall under gentle lights and costly music, people told themselves it was fine, just jokes, just old times, just a bit of fun. They forgot that some people don't leave high school behind when they get their certificate. Some people must carry those names and labels like a heavy burden for ages. As the night continued, drinks came easier, and the jokes became harsher. Someone suggested a bet on if Avery would appear. Money really passed between hands. Logan tracked the wagers on his phone as if it were a business sheet. Savannah moved through the room, phone slightly up, gathering reunion reactions to edit later. When Avery's name came up, she urged people to speak, leaning closer for any sharp comment. Mia watched her film an older classmate laughing about avoiding Avery's lunch table, in case being unseen could spread. The room quietly laughed. Savannah smiled, picturing the text she'd add. What would you have said if you were next to Mia? Would you have told them to quit? Or would you have believed, like many others, that it wasn't your business? As the band began another gentle jazz tune, the hall's mood held a weird blend of joy and something colder. Each time the main doors opened, several heads turned, checking who had entered. They weren't searching for one another anymore. They waited to see if their chosen target would step right into the trap they had created themselves. The laughter, which had begun light and thoughtless, now turned into something different. A steady echo fixed on one name, one face, one old photo that wouldn't disappear. Avery Cole was not there, but she was the strongest presence in the room. The jazz band was halfway through a calm, soft song when the next note never came. The music stopped suddenly. Many guests turned to the stage, thinking a speaker had failed, or a wire had come undone. The musicians looked at each other, confused, their fingers above strings and keys. Before anyone could ask, the glasses on the tables began to shake. Not a small wiggle, but a deep, rumbling tremor. Wine made waves inside crystal cups. Forks and spoons rattled on folded cloths. A vase of white roses shook as if something had touched its stem. At first, the crowd found it slightly funny, thinking it was a truck passing outside the mansion. Then the shaking came again, strong. The floorboards under the fancy ballroom made a soft, strange thud. Then another, and another. A slow, steady beat that moved through the ground, into the guests' shoes, up their legs, into their chests. Talk died down. Heads rose, brows wrinkled as people looked around, unsure whether to laugh or fret. Savannah Reed's smile stuck mid-pose. Brandon Keller put down his drink, his eyes growing small. Logan Parrish blinked hard as if fixing the moment like a wrong computer command. Carter Miles mumbled, "Is that building work?" But even he knew it wasn't. Across the room, Nate Collins stood taller, his jaw muscles growing firm. His hand naturally went to a fake radio mic that was no longer part of his life. "That's no truck," he said softly. The lights above swung gently, not enough to cause fear, but enough to bother people. A few guests nervously laughed, tapping phones, making weak jokes that fell flat. The shaking came again, faster now, closer, more planned, a steady beat, a pattern, a unique mark. Nate's eyes narrowed. "I haven't felt shaking like that since being overseas." He didn't speak loudly, but several nearby guests still heard him. Their faces changed from puzzled to worried. People started moving toward the tall glass doors leading to the backyard, guided by gut feeling more than thought. A sudden blast of wind rushed into the ballroom, blowing napkins off nearby tables. A few floated up like scared white birds, then fluttered to the floor. The doors rattled softly in their frames. The fancy bows on the handles spun and twisted wildly, fighting the strong air. Someone gasped as a strong wind rushed across the yard outside, blowing hair and pulling at clothes. "That can't be regular wind," a guest whispered. "It's too powerful," another said back. Near the stage, one musician held his instrument tighter without thinking. His face showed the same look soldiers get when far-off thunder is actually something else. Former service members in the room felt it before they knew what it was. They stood taller without thinking, shoulders straight, posture changed. Their breathing became softer, more steady. Old army training, hidden for years, slowly came back. The air felt different. It was tense, weighty, waiting. Brandon Keller gulped, trying to make light of it. Likely a power problem, he said, but his voice had lost its usual confidence. His fingers gripped the tablecloth edge as the floor thumped again under his feet. Savannah clutched her phone like armor. "Okay, what's going on?" she whispered, her camera already rolling, but her hand trembled a bit. She tried to smile, but her quivering lips gave her away. Logan moved to the windows, curiosity mixed with a softer feeling. Fear. "We should find a staff member," he said. "This place is meant to resist quakes." "This isn't an earthquake," Nate said softly. The building itself seemed to take a breath, the lights dimming briefly, then growing bright again. The shaking went on, now clearly a steady rhythm, growing louder, nearer, more forceful. More guests moved to the doors, eyes wide, bodies bent forward like grass facing a coming storm. The sound moved across the mansion grounds, deep, roaring, beating. Trees at the property's edge swayed harder than just wind could cause. Then someone pointed, sharply inhaling. "What's that?" All eyes shot to the trees behind the estate. Through the leaves, something stirred. Bright sweeping white lights sliced through the dark. They curved left, then right, then down to the ground. Landing lights, strong, purposeful, the kind used only by large machines, not those that creep or sneak. A nervous flutter ran through the crowd, a shared step back. Savannah lowered her phone, her eyes fixed on the nearing lights as if they were living things. "No way," she whispered. "Is that a helicopter?" Logan didn't speak. Carter didn't move. Brandon's jaw dropped, the first break in his proud look. Deep inside, they all knew it before they said it. Something big was coming, something that didn't care about their champagne, their planned night, or their small wagers on who was important and who wasn't. The landing lights swept up again, brighter now, lighting the tree branches below, then cutting back down. The steady thumping grew louder, making the doors shake on their hinges. Fear flashed in the tormentor's eyes. Not panic yet, but a clear growing dread that the story they thought they were making for tonight had just been taken from them. Still, no clear answer, just wind, shaking, lights, and the heavy, certain feeling that someone or something was coming with a power none of them were prepared for. The music stopped. The guests stood frozen. The estate paused, and the night waited for the truth to arrive. The landing lights swept across the treetops one more time. Then the shape behind them finally pushed through the dark. A huge shadow fell from the sky, coming down with a powerful, machine-like flow fit for battlefields, not fancy homes. The clear shape of the rotor blades appeared first, then the long, sharp front, then the low, armored body, an Apache, a true one, not for display, not for show, a war helicopter coming down, heading straight for the Silver Ridge estate. The air suddenly burst. Wind blew hard across the yard as the blades spun overhead, pulling napkins off tables, tearing bows from doors, sending screams across the grass. The perfect lawn, cut short like a golf course, bent under the strong air pushed down. Guests tripped backward, hiding their faces as dust and flowers flew around. All talk stopped. Laughter died. Phones went up in shaky hands, some to film, others to hide behind. The Apache came lower. The ground shook with deep, steady beats. Leaves and trash spun like wild birds. Nate Collins stood at the crowd's front, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the coming aircraft. "That's an AH-64, he mumbled, his voice full of respect. "What on earth?" The other guests didn't know such words. They only understood one thing. Nothing in their easy lives had made them ready for this. The helicopter's bright landing lights sliced across the estate, showing faces frozen in surprise. The rotor blades cut the air with a roaring chop, silencing every soft word, every gasp, every frantic try to explain. Then with a last heavy thud into the ground, the Apache landed on the grass. It made deep marks on the perfect green lawn, long, ugly grooves that would take weeks to fix. The staff watched helplessly, hands on their heads, unable to grasp what was occurring. But the guests knew one thing. Whoever was inside that machine hadn't come to be laughed at. The blades started to slow, their loud noise fading to a deep, steady hum that filled the night air like a steel heart beating. All eyes fixed on the side door. It made a soft sound, unlatched, and opened. A boot appeared first. Brown leather, thick bottom, used in battle. Then another boot. Then the full person stepped from the door with the complete steadiness of someone who had done this in sandstorms, gunfights, and desert darkness. Avery Cole stepped onto the grass. She looked nothing like the girl from the yearbook photo shown earlier. No big sweater, no tense, nervous shoulders, no try to vanish. Instead, she wore a complete flight uniform, military green and perfectly sized. Her sleeves showed a quiet U.S. flag and her flying unit's badge. Her hair was tied back in a neat, simple bun. Dust stuck to her boots. Her stance was upright, steady, the stance of someone used to entering disorder without a second thought. A helmet, dull black and marked with radio names and signs of use, rested under her arm. She didn't smile. She didn't pose. She didn't pause. She simply looked at the crowd with calm, even eyes, the same kind of look she once used to get through school halls, now made sharp by years of training and battle. Behind her, two of her team came out of the helicopter. One, a young worker with a headset still on his neck, stood beside her. He quickly raised his hand in a sharp, clear salute. "Ma'am," he said, his voice firm despite the wind still blowing around them. "We're ready." Avery saluted back with practiced skill, the movement smooth and real, shaped by practice, strictness, and honor. The guests watched in shocked quiet. Savannah Reed's phone slid a bit in her shaky hand. Brandon Keller's sure smile turned into doubt. Carter Miles fixed his tie without thinking, as if good manners could save him from this moment. Logan Parrish opened his mouth to talk, but no words came out. The past bullies looked like kids facing something they couldn't grasp, let alone manage. Avery started walking toward the mansion entrance. No show, no speech, not even a lifted head, just a firm, quiet walk, the kind a person gains from years of handling duties far heavier than any of their empty opinions. The crowd split without thinking, not from manners, not from fear, but from raw instinct. Human nature sees power, it sees control, it sees someone shaped by hardship. Avery passed through them like water through tall grass. People moved back, unsure whether to salute, hide, or talk. No one dared. At the entrance steps, the four bullies finally spoke, their voices mixed up. Carter talked first, a weak try at a laugh. "Well, this is quite an entrance." Logan gulped, trying to get back his old confidence. "So, long time, Avery. His voice broke. Avery stopped right in front of them. Her face didn't change. Her eyes didn't soften. Her breathing stayed the same. She looked at each of them one time. Then, in a voice so soft that the quiet night seemed to listen, she spoke four words that sliced like steel through cloth. "You sent the invitation." Not mad, not upset, just the plain truth. Those four words broke every false idea they held about who she used to be, and who she had become. Before any could reply, she walked past them, directly into the mansion, into the main hall, into the place they believed was theirs. The room grew silent as she stepped inside. The night held its breath. For the first time all evening, no one had a reason to laugh. The hall lights shone softly as Avery stepped inside, her boots quiet on the shiny marble. Behind her, the crowd's sounds vanished completely. In front of her, the projection screen flickered, stuck between pictures before freezing on one. It was her, the old yearbook photo. Big sweater, bent glasses, hair pulled back tight as if ready for a blow. Her eyes looked past the camera, neither hoping nor scared, just waiting for the moment to end. And there she stood now, right beneath that picture, in a flight suit showing service and courage. Dust still clung to her sleeves. Her boots held the weight of battles fought far away. The difference was so clear the whole room seemed to stop breathing. The projector buzzed. No one laughed. No one dared. Then a chair scraped softly at the back. A man stood, silver gray hair, strong shoulders, standing straight as a gun. He wore his U.S. Army formal uniform, with the calm seriousness of someone who had earned every part of it. Lines of medals covered his chest perfectly, each one a story written in dirt, fire, and steel. Colonel James Reddington came forward. Old soldiers in the room knew him the moment he moved. Nate Collins stood straighter without thinking. Two older men by the bar put down their drinks and stood up. Even regular people felt a silent change, as if power had just entered the air. Readington walked to Avery until he stood a polite distance from her. The old yearbook photo floated above them like a spirit. The colonel's voice was firm, filling the room without needing to be loud. Chief Warrant Officer Three, Avery Cole. A soft movement went through the crowd. Shock, disbelief, wonder. Someone gasped. Someone whispered her rank as if it came from another planet. Avery's face stayed calm. No shame, no try to hide from the still picture above her. She simply met the colonel's look with calm respect. Readington turned a bit to the crowd, his voice changing from a formal address to a serious statement. This officer, he started, led the rescue of 12 U.S. Marines during a battle north of Aden, Yemen. The silence grew deeper, eyes got wider. Savannah's phone fell to her side. Readington went on, his voice holding the force of truth. For over 6 hours under constant and heavy enemy attack, she kept her Apache in place. She took hits on the helicopter body. She held her ground when every military rule said to retreat. He paused, letting the seriousness sink in. And because she wouldn't leave, because she would not abandon our soldiers, all 12 came home. No clapping, no cheers, just a shocked, respectful quiet. The kind of silence kept for amazing things. Readington faced her fully again. The hall lights softly reflected on his gray hair, as he slowly, carefully, brought his hand to his forehead. His salute rose like a slow-motion ritual. A salute not given easily. A salute earned in battle. A salute that completely changed how everyone in the room saw the person before them. Avery saluted back with perfect exactness, not showing off, not acting, not wanting any praise, just respect, given in return for respect. When their hands lowered, the yearbook photo still stayed on the screen above her, but no one saw the girl in the picture anymore. They only saw the soldier standing below it. For a long moment, no one in the hall moved. Colonel Readington's salute still floated in the air like a flag of truth, and Avery stood below it, with the firm balance of someone who had held far heavier weights than other people's thoughts. Then another person stepped forward. Nate Collins put his drink down carefully, almost like a ritual, and walked to her. The crowd made way for him, just as they had for Avery, but for very different causes. He walked like a man who knew the price of duty, the weight of true bravery, the unspoken bond shared by those who had seen the world's toughest sides. He stopped 3 feet from her. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. He slowly and purposely raised his hand in a salute. Avery returned it with the same calm honor she showed the colonel, and something in Nate's face grew softer. Respect, thanks, the knowing of someone who had earned a spot among heroes. When he stepped back, an older man with rough hands and a slight limp came near. His reunion badge showed him as Harold Harry Dawson, retired Navy. A sailor's way of standing still remained in him, despite all the years. He cleared his throat, his voice rough with age. "Ma'am," he said with calm pride, "my Marine, I just want to thank you for bringing someone's sons home." Then he saluted her, sharp, heartfelt, true, a move that shook not from being weak, but from honor too great to hide. Avery returned his salute softly. Next came a tall, wide-shouldered man with a gray beard and a firm walk, even though one leg had an old hurt. His name tag read Raymond Beckett, retired U.S. Air Force loadmaster. He breathed out slowly as he got to her. "Ma'am," he softly said, "I put men on planes that weren't sure to return. Anyone who holds their ground for 6 hours so they can, well, I needed to shake your hand." But instead of a handshake, he stepped back and saluted. It was sharp, firm, filled with the pride of a life spent in duty. Avery saluted back instantly. No clapping followed. The room was too shocked, too humbled, too embarrassed. One by one the veterans moved back into the crowd, leaving a silence that erased the earlier laughter, as if it never happened. Savannah Reed slowly lowered her phone, its screen dimming as her confidence vanished. The influencer glow left her face, replaced by something like regret. She couldn't look at Avery. She couldn't even see herself in her phone's dark screen. Brandon Keller's jaw tightened as if he were trying not to be sick. The proud act he'd shown all night fell from his shoulders. He stared at the floor, his lips open, face pale. His money meant nothing in this moment. Carter Miles stood stiff, holding his empty glass as if it were his only hope. He lifted it part way to his mouth, then recalled it was empty, and lowered it with a slow, shameful gulp. His smooth courtroom belief was gone, torn away by a truth he couldn't twist or argue against. Logan Parrish's eyes flew everywhere but toward Avery. He looked at the fancy light, then the projector, then the floor. No place felt safe. Nowhere offered a way out from realizing that the system he used to judge people was wrong from the beginning. Avery didn't speak to the veterans. Their respect needed no words. She didn't speak to the larger crowd. The quiet alone was enough proof. Instead, she turned to the four who had asked her to come for teasing, not for a gathering. Brandon, Savannah, Carter, Logan. They stood in a weak, shaking line, waiting for anger. But no anger came. Avery's voice was soft, firm, almost kind, but with an edge sharper than rage. It was true. I got the email chain that was sent around. Brandon pulled back. Savannah's hand went to her lips without thinking. Carter's shoulders tensed. Logan's eyes closed for a moment, as if that brief darkness could protect him. Avery went on, calm as morning. I read every message, every joke, every wager. The room felt smaller around her words. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't preach. She didn't make them feel bad. She simply spoke the truth, and that truth was enough to break them. I didn't come here for payback, she said. I didn't come to shame you. I came to see if any of you had changed. The silence grew heavy, stifling. Avery's eyes moved across their faces, not blaming, just watching, as she always did. The same girl who once saw everything and said nothing, had now become the woman who could say everything without raising her voice. Finally, she gave her judgment. You have not. The words struck hard, soft in sound, crushing in meaning. Savannah gasped. Brandon clearly gulped. Carter blinked hard as if the world had suddenly tipped. Logan's eyes fell completely to the floor. Across the hall, people felt the weight of those 4 words settle over them, like a mirror held up, showing them their true selves without filters, without excuses, or the fake shine of planned success. Avery didn't brag. She didn't smile smugly. She didn't enjoy watching them fall apart. She simply stood, firm and calm, the quiet core of a storm they had caused themselves. And for the first time that night, no one in that room wondered who the strongest person among them truly was. Avery left the hall without another sound. She walked through a path of shocked faces, and out onto the balcony, where the night air was cool and fresh. Below her, the torn grass revealed the deep marks the Apache had cut into the perfect lawn. The mansion's lights glowed softly behind her, but she didn't turn around. She breathed in slowly, letting the reunion sounds vanish. Hesitant footsteps came from behind her. Mia Turner stepped into the doorframe, her hands shaking at her sides, eyes wet with regret. She paused before speaking, as if unsure if she should. Avery, she whispered, her voice breaking. I'm so sorry. I saw what they did back then. I saw it all and I said nothing. I was afraid. I was a coward. A tear rolled down her face. She didn't wipe it. Avery turned to her. No anger, no surprise, just a calm quiet. You weren't the only one, Avery said, her voice soft. Mia shook her head, shoulders shaking. But I should have acted. You deserve more. Avery watched her for a moment, then gave a small, firm nod. Not full forgiveness, not changing the past, but a simple nod for bravery shown now. Mia breathed out shakily, relief blending with sadness, and stepped back as Avery looked out at the night again. Inside the main hall, soft arguments started. People faced their own part in the wrongdoing. Some erased pictures they had snapped. Others sat alone in corners, looking at their hands as if seeing them truly for the first time. No one laughed now. No one boasted. The heavy mood of the night settled on all of them. Avery eventually went down the steps and walked across the damaged lawn to the waiting Apache. Her team stood close, boots firmly planted, helmets under arms, relaxed yet respectfully watchful. One gave a small nod. Another moved aside to clear her way. No fancy show, no acting, just the simple, calm respect that comes from truly knowing who she is. She got in, sitting in the pilot's chair as easily as coming home. Moments later, the blades began to turn. The steady roar rose again, not a threat this time, but the helicopter rose into the night, climbing above the mansion, above the shaking crowd, above the ground that once held her past. Stars spread across the sky, leading her back to the life she had forged with strength, focus, and battle. Back at the base, she landed smoothly and walked to her simple room. No bright lights, no clapping, just the known smell of fuel and quiet halls. Inside her small space, she sat on her bed's edge, hands resting gently on her knees, breathing in the deep peace that followed, speaking the truth. She didn't feel like a winner. She didn't feel proven right. She felt steady because the reunion hadn't changed a thing for her. It only showed what she already knew. She had escaped their unkindness years before. She didn't need their praise. She never did. Real strength never asks to be allowed. It grows softly, surely, without stopping, until one day the path is yours, and those who once questioned you can only see you soar. Some winds are loud, marked by medals, missions, and the sound of helicopter blades through a dark sky. But others are soft, held deep inside the hearts of those who kept going when no one trusted them. Avery's tale isn't just about a helicopter landing on grass. It's about silent fights long before she ever sat in a pilot's seat. It's about the bravery of growing without cheers, of being more than what people thought, and finding peace in a life built on inner power, instead of outside praise. Some people see success in fame or loud talk. Others see it in the lives they help, the troubles they face, and the truth they always keep. If you liked this story, please follow for more tales of military and veterans. These stories keep bravery alive for future generations.